grades you made on your weekly mathematics test. More than half of you failed. Most of those who passed just got by. Nobody had 100%. This is the poorest class I've had in a long, long time.
Hey guys, welcome to Hughes History. Today we're going to take a look at kind of some political science terminology. One word specifically we're going to look at. Get ready, it's an awesome word. Hyperpluralism. There you go. Pluralism is basically the idea that in our society everybody has kind of an opportunity to access power, has an ability to influence, to lobby, to set the direction of the country in an equal type of manner. But the idea behind pluralism is that everybody's listening and everybody's open and kind of, the best ideas get funneled through and come out the bestest. So pluralism is generally kind of maybe like 8th grade textbook, kind of American constitutional history. Hyperpluralism is where you take that idea of pluralism and you just kind of take a couple larger groups, or maybe groups that are partisan in nature or that represent the political parties, and you turn their volume way, way up. And then everybody gets turned up a little bit as well. So instead of getting clear voices, you get kind of this muddled, like loud static between radio station noise where nobody really can hear truth. And what I'm going to argue right now is something that I'm going to tell you in about 5 seconds, because I'm going to walk over there and pick up my argument, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to drop it on you! So my argument, because I got it right here in my fist, is that hyperpluralism actually does serve one of the political parties better than the other political party, namely the GOP. Because hyperpluralism, when you get these loud voices and they just drown out any kind of sense, generally creates gridlock. And gridlock is generally better for conservatives than progressives, because it kind of maintains the status quo. You can't start new programs, you can't spend more money. Sometimes I've heard the term starve the beast before, that if you just create enough gridlock and you can't get anything passed, that eventually the government has to kind of cinch its own waist in a sense. So rather than doing a public policy movement through, getting enough votes to say we're going to shrink the government, you just do it using kind of gridlock and noise. So the filibuster is great for this, right? Remember, the filibuster, unwritten constitution, developed by the Senate and really not used in humongous ways till maybe in the last decade or so, where it's really been used as kind of as a work stoppage order. So the minority, 41 senators, can basically just stop all legislation, nothing gets passed. So my argument is that that's better for conservatives, and that that's my argument. So let me talk a little bit about media, and I think media is really important because I think media is like the amplifier of all that noise, and it can do it quite well. So right back at you. Hold on there. All right. So generally in media, like if you go back to like the 1940s or 50s, and you're talking about like a Walter Cronkite, or you're talking about, Murrow or something, where basically the news is seen as an instrument of transparent truth. So everybody listens to Murrow in World War II. Everybody is watching in the 60s Walter Cronkite. So when the news makes this type of judgment that we're losing Vietnam or something, like that, there is a sense that that's like a fourth institution of government, that it's like a check on the other powers. And as a collective unit, we've kind of decided as a country that enough, we don't want to fight this war anymore. So it's not that the media so much is propagandizing it, but rather it is kind of like opening a curtain in a sense to what people can see in Vietnam that maybe they're not going to see, if they just read government reports. So the government's not going to report My Lai. I mean, that would just be idiotic. So the media, by reporting that, is in a sense kind of, saying, whoa, look at that. So kind of my argument is that really because of market-driven journalism, let's say in the 80s and the 90s, where really to stay afloat, you needed to make a large profit, that media organizations started to really kind of be more worried about demographics and marketing and who's watching and getting more people to watch, rather than being honest with their viewer. for profit-driven reasons, right? The board of directors and the people that own the stocks, they want to make the moolah, so you can't go and say, well, look, we told the truth and everybody left and didn't watch anymore. I mean, you have to have some type of gimmick in a sense. So basically, it's called the Fox effect for a reason. Say in the 90s, right around Contract of America time, Fox came on with this kind of fair and balanced slogan, and now I know people out there getting all mad, you're going to get partisan on me. But the idea, it's actually taught as the Fox effect, is that by going to perspective or slanted news, so just appealing to the right wing, to people that have a worldview that is more critical of government or more conservatives in or religious values or something like that, that you tailor the news in order to get those people to watch and get their friends to watch so you can sell them razors or beer or whatever. So, and it's called the Fox effect because other stations have done it as well. So MSNBC is typically seen as the leftist or the Democratic wing of the media in that sense. And what that has done is it's taken the news out of the fourth branch of government. It's basically said that, you know, you don't, if someone's telling you something that's upsetting to you, that's because they're in the pocket of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. So there's no aha moment. There's no moment where we as a collective nation say, all right, we got to do that, right? Because we can just turn on our station and hear what we want to hear in a sense. So I'm going to, you know, you're going to get mad at me. I know it. I don't care. But I think it's just much easier because it's a little more blatant on the right side of things. And I know you're going to yell at me because the left has done it too. Trayvon Martin and MSNBC producers, you know, like cutting that tape up. Like, that's wrong. They shouldn't do that. No, absolutely not. And I could give other examples. But on the right, it just seems like the language is a little bit more like inflammatory, right? So it's very generally well accepted if you're a Republican today to say, Obama's a socialist. Obama is a socialist. He's a Muslim socialist, Indonesian black helicopter going to take my family and kill my dog. And, you know, obviously I'm going over the top with that, but that's, you know, generally the word socialism is a trigger word to say not one of us, he's communist or European or foreign or, yeah! You know, and I guess my argument is if you pull the curtain back on that and you see how ridiculous that argument is, that it really kind of shows how hyperpluralism works. So, for instance, like what's a socialist, right? A socialist is like any kind of policy, right, or any type of action that is collective in nature, societal collective action that's designed to promote the general welfare, by use constitutional language, or to get something done that we as a people decide we want to get done. So, you know, obviously all old people are socialists. They're on Medicare, for goodness sakes, right? So I kind of get a kick out of it. I see a little old lady and she's got her sign, and you're going to get mad at me out there, I know it, but they got their signs, right? Obama's a socialist. I got to go to my Medicare appointment. You're a socialist too, because that's the society. We collect taxes, and it's a progressive tax system, and we use that benefit to create kind of a safety net so we don't have grandma with a broken arm out there crying on the streets. And the same would be true with like the food stamp program or something like that. And there's idiosyncrasies we could fight about and argue about and debate about like what it should be or how it should be run or bureaucracy or getting people off it or whatever. But that's a socialistic program. Social Security is a socialistic program, right? The police department is socialism, right? So if you're pro-police, you're pro-socialism. Because otherwise, if you're not for that, then you'd have to get on the phone and go, 911, there's a burglar in my house. Visa, MasterCard, 1 second. No, we don't turn that over to the for-profit system. We decide as a nation that we're going to do that together. And I think that the question becomes like, what should we do together and what shouldn't we do together? But claims of socialism, or, you know, if he was saying, I'm going to, like, you know, I don't know, nationalize all of the industries and set wages and tell you what you're going to do and output, and yeah, that's like socialism, communism, sure. But if you pull it back, right, I mean, Europe is basically, more socialistic than us. Canada is more socialistic than us. And we are deciding as a nation what to do. But to claim that there's some kind of other concept going on there, I think is disingenuous to the political debate. And that's what really hyperpluralism kills. How can we have this debate if you've already turned me off? We can't. Or if you've already gone, so he's a socialist, he's one of those professors that's trying to turn the world into communists. And there's nothing I really can do, right? But if we can have an honest debate and, you know, argue about, you know, constitutional language, people say Obama has done something unconstitutional, and then we want to talk about the Interstate Commerce Clause and the history of the Interstate Commerce Clause and all those kinds of things, and people just don't have the ability or don't want to or don't go there. So again, hyperpluralism, and again, obviously this sounds more biased because I believe, whether I'm, whatever, that the Republicans are more guilty than the Democrats are doing it. But the Democrats are guilty as well. I just see the political middle here, right? And even if you went back to like Eisenhower's a Republican, right? Passed the Interstate Commerce Act, Interstate Highway Act, right? So that's socialism, I think, right? So Eisenhower's here. Eisenhower didn't talk about dismantling Social Security, right? He would be on the right. Is that your right or my right? So Eisenhower's like over here, right? And maybe Reagan is over here. Reagan argued for, actually passed laws to raise taxes on the rich, to plug holes in the budget. He talked about basically the Warren Buffett rule, about how it was unfair for people who were rich to pay less than their secretaries. So he's probably over here, though, for more tax cuts, right? And I think that the Republican Party today is more kind of like over here, where if, talking about dismantling Medicare, we can have those conversations, but the labeling, I think, needs to stop. The Democrats are actually, when you think about it, where's FDR? Like maybe over here, huge government programs, right? Like the NRA or the CCC or the TVA or the FDIC or Social Security. I mean, huge programs. Lyndon Johnson's like over here, right? Huge programs. So where's Obama? Like maybe like over here, right? I mean, he actually passed again the Bush tax cuts, right? He's basically, thrown the gauntlet down on not going to a national health insurance plan, but rather having a GOP idea, the mandate. So hyperpluralism is just this noise that's been created. I can hear it right now. We can't even talk. So let's turn down the noise. Maybe we should turn the TV sets off too. Maybe we should read. Maybe we should converse like adults and stop all the name calling and see what we can do from there. So go ahead and leave me your dirty comments. I'm ready. Yeah, baby. Trolls!